Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Too Heavy Wrestling Podcast. You have myself, we got Eddie, we got Clayton, and to be honest, boys, I'm just happy to be in the same room talking about wrestling once again. We've had a couple weeks off from doing anything like this.
It's been so long
We had the
since
NWA
I've seen
show,
My Little Men.
NWA show, and a pre-recorded episode before that. So I'm just happy to be back in the same room with the fellers.
It's been 84 years.
And this time we're coming at you with another fun episode. We're going to be talking about our top 5 most overrated wrestlers that we could think of. And I do have answers for Zach here, who is not with us right now, but I do have his answers as well. But before we do that, Eddie, why don't you go ahead and let them know where they can find us on the internet?
Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and make sure to tune in with us each and every week on Spotify and Apple Music. Also, I have one thing. If my list offends people by the name of Byron in the future,
okay,
I'm so sorry.
Don't be. He doesn't deserve that. He deserves to be offended.
My list offends anybody. Go cry to your mama, not to me, because I don't care.
Go cry to the comments. Let us know what you think. Tell us how we're right and wrong, and let us know what your top 5 most overrated wrestlers are. So did we want to go one at a time, or do we just want to run down the lists?
It's just get in where you fit in.
All right.
I'm ready to go.
All right,
cool with
Clayton's coming in hot apparently, so let's let Clayton kick us off. Top 5 most overrated wrestlers.
Now, before I say this, I'll admit it's a slight cheat because I'm not confining to the rules, but I think this point is inarguable.
All right.
So I'm doing it. The entire women's division pre-NXT.
Oh, no.
Hey, we about to put a whole division? I thought...
The entire women's division pre-NXT.
So you're talking about like the Michelle McCool, Layla.
The entire Divas era. The pre-post Alliance era. The Monday Night War era. Like everything that was the women's division prior to the inception of NXT 1.0. Overrated. They were just there to be eye candy. They weren't trusted to do anything, and they were vehicles to move along other story plots, but not given the appropriate time to wrestle. I think very much so a Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus steel cage match at Payback, which is honestly...
It was one of the top 2 matches of
one of the top 2 women's matches of this particular calendar year, which are one of the 2 best of all time, in my opinion, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
You could have that quality of match with, say, Lita and Victoria.
Dude, China and Jazz.
Like, there were women who could have had that caliber of match, but our most physical specimen, if you will, China, wrestled men.
Yeah.
And if you weren't China, you were somebody's manager, somebody's arm candy, somebody's victim to be saved. So they didn't really do anything because they weren't given enough to do.
That's fair. They were booked poorly is what your main point is. I would say, because I can't really argue that. Let's not forget that we had to live in a time period. There was one specific year where we referred to Nikki and Brie Bella as Hall of Famer, the Bella twins, but The Undertaker was legend because he wasn't in the Hall. Nikki, we had to live in a time period where the Bella twins were in the WWE Hall of Fame and The Undertaker wasn't.
I do not recognize any of the accomplishments of the Bella twins because they were terrible wrestlers. They were terrible at promo work. If they weren't talking, they weren't running a promo with each other, they actually sucked at promos.
Eddie, thoughts?
I do agree. They do suck ass at a lot of things.
Okay, good.
But yeah, you just like to cut right through the BS.
Yeah.
Certain cuss words I'm going to try to filter out. I agree to a certain extent. I really wasn't that interested in women's wrestling until I got to see stuff in NXT.
Yeah.
I feel like Becky, honestly, Emma and Paige put on really good matches, and that's when I first started. I'm like, holy crap, they're like kind of killing each other, and I thought that was a really good way to start out NXT. You get Charlotte, Becky, Bayley, Sasha, keep filtering through everybody. There were, I don't think it can be as high as that point NXT wise. I think that's That's the sweet spot was then. You said what?
Blue Pants.
Blue Pants?
Do you remember Blue Pants from
Leva
NXT?
Bates.
Yeah, she was in NXT. Her name was Blue Pants, and her theme song was the Price is Right theme song. Someone humming it into a microphone.
It was Big Cass who was humming it into the microphone. And Blue Pants was involved in one of my favorite tag team matches in NXT history because she helped the Von Villains win the tag titles. So I actually liked that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what a hot start. Women, essentially, Clayton decided to say women's wrestling is overrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
prior to when it got good. 100%.
Right. Okay, do you want to go to your next pick, or Eddie, do you want to go?
What's Zach's pick? Because I'm trying to figure out if I want to start hot or not, and I'm still trying to...
If he did number these, so I'll assume they're in order.
Yeah, I'd say
it's actually relatively in the same vein because his first pick was Natalya.
See, I was thinking, like, along those lines, but no, I don't think she is... I think she is overrated, but she is still a very good wrestler.
I think Natalya has not got enough credit for her career. However, she has a name that has gotten her to a specific stature that maybe if she gotten to. Yeah. So I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm not going to hard disagree because the argument is there both ways.
Right.
I'm actually going to hard disagree because for me, for something to be overrated, the faction doesn't live up to perceived expectations.
Yeah.
With where Natalya came in at the company, this is why I called out the entire women's division pre-NXT.
Yeah.
There's zero expectations.
Yeah.
Yes, the name and the faction that she's attached to got her more opportunities internally with WWE.
Right.
But I think we can all sit here and say Charlotte with her name more or less lived up to expectations that were immediately placed upon her. But Natalya with her name, there were no expectations. You were here. You have a job for life.
Yeah.
That's cool. But like, we're not expecting you to be a multi-time.
No one expected greatness out of Natalya.
No.
And we did, for a couple years there, get some really good matches out of her. And I think she's always been very talented. But the reason I wouldn't necessarily think that she is overrated is because she never mountaintopped. She was never the top of the division, no matter what, because Beth Phoenix
at any point in time,
Paige, like people were always there to be. People were always there to make sure she was top 5, but never 1 or 2.
Very much agree. Yeah. Well, like, she's always been a very good, like, when I'm looking at wrestlers, I'm looking, hey, is their wrestling capabilities to the stature of the push they're getting? That's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And the thought of Natalya did run through my head while making this list, but at the same time, I'm like, no, there are so many other people that got pushes that
she would be on my honorable mention list before she would be in my top 5.
Right, and we do have an honorable mention, so we'll go over that at the end.
I have one. Not everyone did it, but
I got a hunch.
Well, my first pick for overrated wrestlers, I don't think is going to be very controversial, and I don't think anyone is going to argue with me. And if you do, then cool. But I just put Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash is overrated, and
for where his position was, 100%.
Yeah, like the Kevin Nash got the one like 1,400 title reign or 1,200 day title reign or however long that was. I don't know how long his 1,000 day plus title reign was.
He never got 1,000 days.
He didn't get 1,000 day title reign?
No.
Hold on. Let me.
It was like 300 something.
Oh, either way, he doesn't deserve a year-long title reign.
I agree. I 100% agree with that.
But yeah, Kevin Nash is my first.
Okay.
100%. Braun Strowman today is what WWE and WCW thought Kevin Nash would be in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, well, because the thing about Kevin Nash is his name is just synonymous with his name is synonymous with an era because of a group he was a part of both before the Monday Night Wars and during the Monday Night Wars, because he's both an NWO member and a Click member. So like, has he contributed? Has his mind gotten a lot of things done? Sure, but as a wrestler, we should stop pretending like he has two good legs to stand on as a wrestler.
Agreed. He's actually in my list as well.
Oh, okay.
I thought that would be a big one for some reason. No.
I don't think anyone would disagree that Kevin Nash is overrated.
There are certain things Kevin Nash was really good at. However, I feel like those things he had to be really good at involved leaning on other people.
Yeah.
And I feel like to be, one, a main eventer, two, a world champion, you need to have it doesn't mean you can't lean on people in general. Like, I think Rhea Ripley does a really good job at being able to do her own thing and lean on people and still make her content better in every essence. And Edge, exact same thing. He was able to lean on people and do his own thing. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Kevin Nash by himself, nothing, in my opinion.
I can't even think of Kevin Nash by himself.
He had it the title reign.
Well, no. Well, yes, but like that was also during the time of like him and Shawn kind of tag team and then going back and forth and all that stuff, right? And then he goes to be part of the Outsiders and then the NWO and all that stuff. And then he came back in like 2002 or whatever with the NWO again. And then once that split off and kind of went away, he had that like weird 2002 or 2004 run or whatever where he kind of feuded with Scott Steiner and then fizzled out. And then he went to TNA, and even there he wasn't alone. Like,
no, like, look, I understand his accomplishments and rest. Like, I'm glad he was a part of history. There's so many reasons why he being a part of history matters, but at the same time, it's like you didn't need to put a strap on his shoulder the way he presented himself. And when he was a face, when they tried to push him as a face at the beginning, it's like, yo, he can just be the same. Yeah, like, it's fine.
All right, well, you said you had Kevin Nash on your list, so we'll just say that was one. Go ahead and give us the next one. Go ahead and start round two.
Okay. I'm not going to go into the one that I think will be controversial because I'm still trying to figure that out and see if it's actually worth it. But Ultimate Warrior. I think Ultimate Warrior is he's number one on my list.
He's the number one.
He's number one most overrated wrestler of all time, in my opinion. Now, there are other people that you can argue with that case, and I think I have a couple of them on there.
Yeah.
Ultimate Warrior as a wrestler, I'm not saying anything about his character or the way he but at the same time, you look back at those promos, actually break it down. Yeah. He ain't speaking in any English that I know.
He's cutting 80s promos is what it is. He never stopped cutting 80s promos.
It's not even 80s promos. You see Hulk Hogan cut promos. You saw Ted DiBiase cut promos. They enunciated. He's like, wah, 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 wah.
See,
he's like, I went to like Galaxy 412.
I don't disagree with you per se, but I think the specific point you're trying to make, it could be argued that was just what his character was and that he was doing it really well.
And it's the era it was in. I understand. Yeah. Like, Vince probably wouldn't have. Well, actually, no. Never mind. He tried to bring him back, and that didn't work. Wrestling-wise, I think there were select few moves in his arsenal.
Yeah.
And he had to crush pretty big opponents that shouldn't have gotten crushed.
Clayton, do you have a lot of experience with Ultimate Warrior?
Mm-mm.
I didn't think so.
He squashed, and again, I know it's the time frame. I completely understand that. Rick Rude didn't deserve to get crushed.
Yeah.
Mr. Perfect didn't deserve to get crushed. These are all pretty freaking good wrestlers.
So you think he just buried people?
He buried people, and then he's like, the time they were going to hand the title off to the next person, which, trivia, who was the next person they were supposed to hand off the belt to?
After Warrior?
It wasn't Sergeant Slaughter at first.
Oh, probably Piper?
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Oh, that's right.
He would be a world champion if it wasn't for the Ultimate, which personally, I know you. We know your thoughts.
Yeah. We've
personally, as a wrestling fan and of someone who appreciates the I guess the snappy wrestlers who just have really crisp moves.
Pop.
I would have liked to see that. He probably would have ended up losing it to The Undertaker if everything kind of worked out the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
But Ultimate Warrior's like, no, I don't want to do any of this, F that. He's like, nah, we need to get the belt off of him right now. Jake the Snake Roberts was in a feud with The Undertaker because of that Randy Savage, Miss Elizabeth stuff. Sergeant Slaughter, that made no sense at the time.
But he was trusted, and he was a main eventer.
Yeah.
He was kind of
I
highlighted a little bit.
But I also could have put him on this list, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, that one may get a reaction.
Well, all right, what about you, Clayton? What's your next pick? Uh-oh.
Tough.
After much deliberation,
It looked like you were doing research over there.
Shawn Michaels.
What?
After much deliberation,
While I'm in the room?
Shawn Michaels.
Explain.
Shawn Michaels, much like another person on my list.
Yo, you're going to piss me off with the person on your list, I can already tell. This one doesn't piss me off as much for some reason.
Shawn Michaels, like another person on my list.
Oh.
For the gravitas and aura that they command within the wrestling space.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the accomplishments to match that.
Okay, hold on. I see what he actually is saying. I do. And accomplishments-wise, he's a Grand Slam champion. I understand that.
The first.
Yeah, the first.
Admittedly, the first non-modern era Grand Slam champion. How many world title reigns does he actually have?
No, he's not.
Who's the first Grand Slam?
Diesel.
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
100%. Oh, no, he didn't win. Never mind.
Yeah. Chill.
100%. Look at me go.
Shawn Michaels has what? 4 or 5 world title runs?
Shawn Michaels has, I was looking it up while you guys
he has
were
1 world heavyweight and probably 3 or 4
talking
WWE.
about people I haven't seen wrestle. 3 WWF championships, 1 world heavyweight, 3 intercontinentals, a European, and a total of 6 tag team championship wins with 2 Royal Rumbles.
Yeah.
Here's where the overrated comes in for me. Okay?
Yeah.
I think we're about to agree on the same point, if you're going to say what I'm thinking.
So, when I think Shawn Michaels' memorable moments, obviously the 2 Undertaker matches at WrestleMania, the Elimination Chamber win where he got the World Heavyweight Championship,
Brown pants.
and the screw job, for a moment, and the ladder match with Ramon. Shawn Michaels, for the average wrestling fan, is discussed on the same level as a John Cena, and that's just not true. That's just not true. Shawn Michaels.
I think
let me get this out before you, because this might make you red in the face.
I want to put my input in for that too and just explain mine.
Shawn Michaels, from an accomplishment standpoint, injuries notwithstanding, it's part of the business. I get it.
4 years.
He's a rich man's Kevin Nash.
Okay, yeah, now I disagree with. Okay.
In what way? How is Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash comparable in the way that you're saying? Because I'm not asking because I disagree. I'm not seeing it. In what way are they similar?
Accomplishments?
Okay.
Like, end of the day, like your reigns, because to have a title reign in WWE is a lot of capitalizing on your own momentum, convincing the right people.
Yeah.
And getting that push.
Yeah.
The position that Shawn Michaels had, he, even with a 4-year layoff from injury, with the position that he had, with the people that he knew, with the people that he was connected to, he should have more reigns as a world title holder or king of the mid-card. Either way, for me.
My take and where I originally thought he was going. Well, first of all, my opinion. If you are in WWE for 2 years, it is how you capitalize on those 2 years.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Now, like, hey, we didn't have real Stone Cold Steve Austin that long, if we're being honest.
Stone Cold was like 4 or 5 years.
We didn't have the Rock we know.
Rock was like 5 or 6 years.
Like, you don't have to be in the WWE for, like, you don't have to be a John Cena or a Randy Orton or any of these guys to be the greatest. But at the same time, I think that, one, they treat them like those 4 years didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like that.
100% that's true.
Yeah, they treat them like those 4 years didn't exist. Like, I think if those 4 years were there, he would have been able to do more.
There's at least 2 more world title runs in those 4 years.
But then at the same time, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yo, I don't know where he'd be able. When I look back at the Attitude Era, I'm like, I really don't see a way I can throw him in somewhere, if I'm going to be honest.
Here's the thing about Shawn Michaels.
And to be clear, sorry to cut you off. To be clear, he is a great wrestler. He is a fantastic in-ring technician. I am not discounting that. What I am saying is, here's Mount Rushmore. Shawn Michaels is not on it. And I will vehemently argue anybody that has Shawn Michaels in their Mount Rushmore.
Here's the thing, because we just did Mount Rushmores in a match. Shawn Michaels is in my top.
We didn't do an official Mount Rushmore.
If we did an official Mount Rushmore, Shawn Michaels is in mine.
Wouldn't be in mine.
But here's the thing, and it's specifically about John Cena, right? When you look at like all of the think of a video game, right? All of the attributes that puts together a wrestler. If you compare Shawn Michaels, who is not just if you polled the professional wrestling world, it's not that Shawn Michaels was a great in-ring performer. He was the in-ring performer. He's number one. There are so many legends that if you ask them who's the number one and I'm not talking about like athleticism, I'm not talking about like ability to put together a match individually. I'm talking about the package of it. All of those bullet points that makes an in-ring performer, he hits all of them in such a way that if you go around if you ask the greats like Ric Flair, if you ask a John Cena, if you ask a Kurt Angle, they're going to tell you the in-ring performer of all time is Shawn Michaels. So when you have that versus the draw, if you go and ask all of those same people who is the biggest draw of all time, there's a little bit more of an argument around Stone Cold The Rock, but ultimately they will probably land on John Cena. Biggest draw of all time.
It's not even... Look, I know Shawn Michaels' in-ring capability. Some of my favorite matches Shawn Michaels was in.
Yeah.
I think, one, the era didn't help. Like, I think... Yeah. Again, he was a strong competitor who beat really big guys because we were still in that big guy, big money. We were kind of in that big guy.
He ushered in the Attitude Era with those guys.
Yeah, Bret and Shawn were the two exceptions.
The reigns literally went, if you want to look at like Attitude Era, the reigns went from Shawn and Triple H and DX over to Stone Cold so quickly to lead that division through. Exactly. But my point about comparing in-ring ability versus draw, inherently, draw is going to have more world titles, and in-ring ability is going to have more titles. So when you look at John Cena's career, he has 16 world titles and like 3 or 4 US title runs and like 2 or 3 world tag team runs, and none of those, let's be clear, none of those world tag team runs are real. Right? One of them was a feud with Shawn Michaels. One of them was a feud with Batista. One of them was with Nexus, I think. Yeah. John Cena, if you look at on paper and you look at any of John Cena's tag team title runs, they're just not real. I'm sorry. But like John Cena isn't even a Grand Slam champion, not to his fault, but because he got to the main event so quickly because of his draw power, it just made more sense to give him more world title runs. So that's the difference.
Here's my counterpoint. And this is just for the WWE WWF Championship.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels had 3 reigns.
Yeah.
Total throughout his career. I'm going to start listing off wrestlers who had at that or more.
Yeah.
Hogan 6, Cena 13, Lesnar 7, Orton 10, Hart 5, Reigns 4, Triple H 9, Stone Cold 6. The Rock 8, Kurt Angle 4, The Undertaker 4, Daniel Bryan 4, Sheamus 3, Edge 4. Mankind 3. My thing with HBK is I'm more achievement and accomplishment focused than the rest of you. He doesn't have the accomplishments to match his career.
So yes, if you look at if you looked at a piece of paper and you didn't see the name written at the top and it just said three WWE title runs, a world heavyweight title run, 6 tag team, like you would look at that and think this is a Hall of Famer, maybe not headliner. You look at that and you go, it's probably like a Dolph Ziggler level wrestler, right? Or average. If you look at that on paper.
Dolph Ziggler's a Hall of Famer. You watch your mouth.
I just said that's a Hall of Fame ballot. I just said that's a Hall of Fame list of careers. I'm the biggest Dolph Ziggler defender. Chill.
You weren't very firm on that.
But my point is, it's all of the things that he did around that, specifically in the ring. Like, Shawn Michaels is goated, not because of just his accomplishments, but because of the things specifically around a WWE wrestler that aren't titles that he does. Like, if you want to, first off, if you want to look at who he's put over, like, that list is huge, you know? I don't think that Shawn Michaels is overrated. And I'm not, even if I wasn't as much of a Shawn Michaels mark as I am, I think I would still say that. Ultimately, I'm saying I disagree with you.
That's fine. You're entitled to your wrong opinion.
Wrong opinion.
I don't think he's overrated.
That's because he's not overrated, Eddie. Thank you.
But I could see a factor of, like, I could see an argument for it at the same time.
Oh, I mean, here, you could make the argument around Click and DX and things that held him up, but, like, he basically created those things.
Right.
You know, like, it's different.
I don't like that crap when it's like someone's like, Stone Cold was only Stone Cold for 4 years.
Yeah, and then he was the ringmaster in like, Hollywood Blonde, and like, yeah, but
it's like, dude, it's what you did in those 4 years. Like Daniel Bryan, what he did in the time he had, fantastic.
Yeah,
like same thing with The Rock, innovated the entire wrestling game.
Yeah,
and
plus, if you really look at if you look at like the last, let's say, after 2006, right? If you look, there is a section of Shawn Michaels' career where after he finishes his Triple H feuds and all that, and he reforms DX in 2006, all the way until he retires. Those years are just
that was mid-card Michaels. That was mid-card.
It's not even that it was mid-card Michaels. It's just fun Michaels.
It was fun. That's
he realizes his main event days are over, but that he can still lift others to the main event, and he can have fun at the same time.
Right.
That's the point of Shawn Michaels during that time.
I appreciate the fact, like, you give us those, like, little matches. It's really good. And, dude, I knew we'd have a good episode with it.
For sure.
Top fives, man. Crazy.
Well, we can move on.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is Dean Ambrose / Jon Moxley. I don't get it.
You don't get it?
I don't get it.
He's watching us.
Oh no.
Zach's in the background.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I mean, big buff Moxley in AEW. I kind of get it. I do. Nope. I don't understand the whole deathmatch everything crap. Like, I feel like in his mind, in order to get a reaction, you have to have a deathmatch. No, not even a little bit. You had a fantastic match with Daniel Bryan when it was just wrestling.
Yeah.
Did that fantastic. Bryan Danielson, sorry. But top 5 though.
Overrated. I'm still confused on why Moxley got a world title run in WWE.
The same reason why let's pick somebody.
Got to scream.
The same reason why honestly, same reason why this isn't to relitigate.
Say it.
This isn't to relitigate.
No, go ahead, say it. Look at me in my eyes and say it.
You need to use a different example.
The same reason why Shawn Michaels got his World Heavyweight Championship win.
Oh, we could just make a video out of this.
There was so much more. No. And here's why. There was an entire storyline that was blurred between reality and kayfabe that made that not only make sense from a storyline standpoint, but also make sense from a real life standpoint, in that he just deserved it, and he proved that he deserved it.
And you're saying Dean Ambrose didn't do this?
No. There was not no. Dean Ambrose and his world title run was not part of a comeback that no one thought he was going to come back from, and it was barely rooted in a revenge story with his best friends, right? That wasn't really part of it, and the reason why I say that is because Money in the Bank was involved. It was a cash-in. So no, it's not the same. Shawn's was way better, and I still don't think Dean Ambrose should have been a world champion in WWE.
I think the point of
Dean Ambrose is a poor man's HBK, but continue.
He can stay a poor man's HBK. He'll never be a real one, so that's fine. He can stay.
That's not really saying much.
Just saying.
I think the point of the reason why, honestly, the titles changed a lot in that span of time, but Ambrose held it
all three
longer.
Shield members were champion in that.
Well, Dean Ambrose held the title for like 3 months. In my opinion, it was worth it. You have to go based off the read of the crowd and based off what you think they want.
Yeah, they always want a generic cash-in. Anyone could have done that night, and it would have gotten the same reaction, is my point. Dean Ambrose really had nothing to do with it.
It made sense for him to be that champion because Roman and Seth already won it. Like, at that time, I understand.
I will agree with that logic when Xavier Woods gets his world title run. Until then, that's BS.
I think you're operating off of a false pretense that Xavier Woods wants a world title run.
You're also operating on the sense of Dean Ambrose shouldn't have won the title until the future when Xavier Woods won it. How does that make sense?
I just don't think that. I don't think Dean Ambrose should have won that one. And Xavier Woods may not won it, but he wouldn't say no. Like,
I don't think he'll get to that point.
I don't think he will either. But my point is, if you're saying that because Roman got a world title run and because Seth got a world title run, that Dean just inherently should, then that same
he was over at that point.
Xavier Woods
was really
isn't over.
I'm not saying Xavier Woods isn't over. I'm just saying you have to go also based off wrestling style. You have to go based off build. You have to go based off all of these things. I'm not saying Dean Ambrose has the best build in the world. I'm not saying he was the most over person at that time. But for what the direction WWE wanted to go in with that brand split, it made the most sense. Hey, Dean Ambrose isn't going to be a champion on show with Seth and Roman. We obviously knew that. And I think the point of having Dean Ambrose lose it to AJ Styles and then AJ Styles lose it to John Cena and then John Cena lose it to Bray Wyatt and then Bray Wyatt lose it to Randy Orton, all of that was to lead to figure out who that champion would be after Randy Orton.
Yeah, actually, I do agree with you. Dean Ambrose does deserve to be a paper champion. I do agree with your point that he should be a transitional champion. That's actually a really good point. Thank you, Eddie.
Okay, but he's not
what you just said?
He held it longer than all those other guys, though. He held it longer than AJ Styles. He held it longer than John Cena. He held it longer than all these other guys.
You just proved my point. Is that
I said they wanted to figure out what direction they were going in because of the Shield, and now you're going to lose all of these other guys. It's like, no, yeah, Shawn Michaels is overrated. Sorry, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead and fall back on that sword since you accidentally proved my point. Right. I'll go ahead and say Zach's second pick. He numbered them, so I'm just going down the line. I don't think anyone's going to argue with this.
He's pissed off about Shawn Michaels, and I'm going to get so heated on these picks, I swear.
I'm fine if you guys want to think that. I just find it really funny that you accidentally proved my point.
That was actually hilarious.
Number 2 on Zach's list was Alberto Del Rio. I'm actually upset he's not on mine. I, for almost the same reasons, don't quite understand how Alberto Del Rio main evented anything ever. Okay. I think his character was cool, and I think he should have been king of the mid-card.
I'm just going to say this one time, because I know 75% of this podcast is made up of Caucasian people.
Yeah.
a minority becomes a champion in WWE because of whatever world tour is currently going that year.
Yeah, you've said that before.
So that is why Alberto Del Rio has not one, but multiple world title reigns.
Because they go to wherever he's from. They go to Mexico often.
No, that's not why that. They didn't go to. No. Yeah. You see? Are you shaking your head as in like, no, they didn't go on a tour because of that? They were
super high on Alberto
I understand
Del Rio.
why they were high on him when he came into WWE.
I mean,
that actually made sense.
Here's the deal. I think my point about Alberto Del Rio is that if you take exactly what he was capable of and you stick him any 4 years before or any 4 years after, he does not have the world title runs that he has.
Very much agree.
He filled in a gap that was created by a lot of people leaving or taking breaks at once in that like 2009 to 2013 run.
I do appreciate the fact that they wanted to go on this like little. I feel like they were trying to transition more into, hey, we do want to go, and this is kind of the point where they did this, where they wanted to try to go more global in terms of their wrestlers. And at that point, AAA, Alberto Del Rio was the guy. It was pretty easy to sign him. Like, I understand, and I can see where the point comes in of, wow, he wide out of all people, where you have Kane, Rey Mysterio, all of these people. That actually, I thought of another person I could put on this list. Thanks for speaking about that time.
They were high on Alberto Del Rio internally, but the WWE at that time probably went to Mexico more than anywhere else in the world when traveling internationally.
I can't speak on that one way or another, so I'll let you speculate.
To that end, if we don't get Alberto Del Rio, we don't get Ronda.
And I don't see the. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't see the.
That Ronda's limited moveset, if you will, is Alberto Del Rio's ring set.
Yeah.
With more actual ability to wrestle.
Yo.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay, wait, hold on. Just say.
Alberto Del Rio has more ability to wrestle, not Ron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
You did hear that wrong.
I thought you said basically along the lines of Alberto Del Rio walked so Ronda could run. And
yes, actually.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
That is what I'm saying. But Alberto Del Rio has actual ring talent. Like, if this was a Pokemon evolution, Alberto Del Rio's the next step after Ronda.
Is he the final step, or is there one before Ronda?
I think what Becky Lynch is now, it would be the final of that.
That's kind of where I was thinking. Eddie, did you give your number 2?
No.
All right, hit us up with number 2.
Should I go?
Yeah.
I don't really. My honorable mentions are more controversial. I actually
we'll do those at the end.
Yeah.
Just give us your number 2.
Oh no, I put Ultimate Warrior. Technically, I'm on number 3 now.
Oh, okay. Well, then hit us up with 3.
Okay. Number 3, I put Goldberg.
Okay. Yeah.
No arguments.
I'll just go ahead and skip this part. Zach also has Goldberg on his as number 5.
You see, it's not even for me. I didn't grow up in the time of Goldberg. Like, hey, I know, big man, big money type.
So if you look at pillars of what creates a wrestler, you have like raw power draw,
right?
And then you have like wrestling ability, and then you have like character work.
The thing that I thought WCW was thinking, they're like, okay, Mongo is an NFL player and he's a pretty good wrestler. Let's find some more NFL players.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's at least what I feel like was the reasoning behind getting Goldberg.
Goldberg is just a product of really good booking.
Right. And it's not like Goldberg's
good booking.
Good booking for him, not good booking. I'll add that.
Goldberg
he got booked well.
You can't be a world champion, in my opinion, and be careless and hurt people and like do all this crap.
Right, Brett.
It's not just Brett; it is other people, like Taker.
Yeah, well, that was different.
That was much different.
Mid-match, that was a freak accident. Your point stands. I do understand that, but that was a freak accident. That's
not the only one. Like, I know there were instances where William Regal refused to work with him.
Yeah,
and as hard hitting as William Regal is, he's a safe wrestler.
Yeah.
To like.
Oh, Goldberg is overrated. However,
very overrated.
That being said, all of us have probably at some point sat down and watched a Goldberg spear compilation that ended with that Christian spear that I'll.
Yeah, and it's not like he didn't create good moments, but like I'm trying to think of a good example of
I
like a
could
guy.
tell you with 100% certainty, I've never done that because the spear, the move is overrated in wrestling.
Well, yes, but if you were able to watch this happen before it got saturated, it was like Goldberg doing the spear at a time when no one else was doing the spear was magical.
It looked
It was
genuinely
kind of like
painful.
Shawn Michaels, not to bring this back again, but Shawn Michaels during the Sweet Chin Music time when no one else was super kicking, it was something to watch. Like it meant something.
I will say he has, in my opinion, the most devastating spear of all time. Me personally, I think that honestly, Braun's kind of getting up there.
Braun is going to take that over, though.
Braun's taking that over.
Okay, but here's the deal, though. Like there are a lot of people that do.
Edge's is the most underwhelming spear of all time.
Edge has a weak spear. I think even Roman has a weak spear. Not
Yes.
as weak as Edge, but Roman has a weak spear. Goldberg has the second best spear of all time, and that's because number one is Rhino with the gore. Have you ever watched a gore compilation on YouTube?
The Rhino's a very chunky man.
I just like hearing Paul Heyman scream gore.
Yeah.
Gore! So, sidebar on the spear specifically. As a fan of wrestling, my suspension of disbelief is broken that a football tackle, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a football tackle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Unless it's coming from Rhino or Goldberg off of a blind side.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not buying that. That's putting you down.
Well, that's the other thing too, is I think this Goldberg's spear setting up a jackhammer is why that worked, because it wasn't his finisher, it was his signature. But Rhino's gore, it just kills people, man.
He does. Spike Dudley should be dead because of Rhino. 100%. Spike Dudley should be dead for a lot of reasons.
Do you want to do your three?
I'll do my next one. And when I say this next one, I hope that you understand why I have HBK on my list as well. The Rock.
All right. At least you're consistent. So you truly are just going all in on paper. You've not done much. Because The Rock does not have
from an accomplishment standpoint.
Yeah.
Like when I'm looking at the totality that somebody has been in the business.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand he was arguably top 2 draw for the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Never discount that.
Yeah. However, that was only like a 4-year span.
It was a short time span. 1, 2. I don't think that style, like if you take it out of the Attitude Era and place it right now, exactly how he had it, it doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work pre-Attitude Era. The Rock is something that Eddie says here and there, suffering from success.
Yeah.
Because his peak was so much higher than anybody else's. When he loops around, okay, cool. He gets to have main event title programs again, which is, if we're being honest, if we're all sitting here and being honest, The Rock is just a memberberry truck of a character.
So I've always said this about the Attitude Era, like the stars of the Attitude Era, mainly being Stone Cold and The Rock. We are at a time, and this has been this way for a while, we are at a time where people spend more time remembering The Rock and Stone Cold than The Rock and Stone Cold actually were around.
And for comparison's sake, Stone Cold, you could take Stone Cold style and drop it in any era of wrestling. Essentially, King of the Ring 96. If you take Stone Cold from that point through the end of the Attitude Era, you can drop that character in any era of wrestling and he's going to be successful. Like, it's very rare in wrestling where we see a wrestler crystallize the moment of their character. We saw it with Bray the second he came on the screen. We saw it with Stone Cold at that King of the Ring. We saw it with The Rock, for me personally, after the Billy Gunn promo. Like, he gets it right there. That's what his character's supposed to be. But
I'm not gonna argue.
I just liked the list of women Shawn Michaels, The Rock. I think that's
like
there are certain points I do agree very much on. Not necessarily to your point that The Rock is overrated, more to the point that, honestly, this is kind of a little off topic. Dropping Stone Cold in any era and he'll work.
Yeah.
I agree with that. If you, I'm going to get
yeah,
that.
and
it's already here.
Does not exist without The Rock.
It's already up here. I got it. The thing is about dropping Stone Cold in any era, there is a blind spot to that. You couldn't drop well, actually, you could drop Stone Cold's character in the golden era of wrestling where all the characters were doing it, except he would be like so the thing about The Rock is that, or about Stone Cold, is that it was versus the boss. It's the guy, it's the blue collar guy going against the boss, except blue collar what? He was just a wrestler. He wasn't. The problem is, if you took Stone Cold's character and dropped it in the golden era, they would put the blue collar on him and he would be the trash man or he would be the welder, and then it wouldn't work past the mid card. That's like the only blind spot. Anything golden era after Stone Cold works in any era. And LA Knight proves that if you took The Rock and dropped him in today's era, it would work. That's my point.
So he doesn't work in every era.
No, he doesn't work in every era. He works in every era minus one, I think.
Okay, so you proved my point this time.
It's not the same. You can try to do that. It's not the same.
But you did just prove my point.
Because of the emulation in Stone Cold's character of being the little guy versus the establishment, that is for me why it works in any era. Because just through American history, not talking about the international fans, just American history,
that'll always win.
That works in any decade.
If you shaped it that way, that would even work in the golden era.
Like that's my basis for Stone Cold. When you take The Rock prior to Hollywood Rock, what defines his character?
Eyebrows and smell what The Rock.
So
that's first level. That's our top of the iceberg.
History.
Let's go down another level.
Yeah, history. At that point, his dad.
Yes, but that got forgotten about very quickly once he stopped being Rocky Maivia, and like the first quarter of a year when he was in the Nation of Domination, his legacy for wrestling was immediately forgot about.
Yeah.
But as for The Rock, the character, let's go a step lower, because with HBK, I understand his character, HBK, the character's motivation. He is talented enough to be the best. He may not have the strap to solidify that, which is why he's on my list, but that's his character's motivation. What is The Rock's character motivation prior to Hollywood Rock?
He's here to beat up Stone Cold.
He's just here to talk. Okay, cool. You just described 100% of wrestling.
Yeah. The thing is, I understand what you're saying. I can't tell if this is your real list that you believe, or if this is the list that you wanted to put together to be controversial.
I'm going to say
I've told you separately, Randy, that The Rock is on my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
Yeah.
For his impact on the business. I kind of have him and Stone Cold 1A, 1B, like kind of slash, because you don't have the success of the Attitude Era without both. But The Rock is overrated.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
You have said that before.
I'm going to say what he was trying to say in the nicest way possible. I don't agree.
I said I disagree.
You said, I agree, but,
no, okay, I said I see what you're saying.
Hollywood Rock, I understand where's the motivation, but
you also have to remember, I'm sorry, I'm really bad about this, but even Hollywood Rock, that's a fraction of a fraction in time.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
That's 6 months in 2004.
That character has not been revisited. If that became his main character, he's probably not on my overrated list, but that's just a door.
I would not fully. It's an asterisk level. I would asterisk level say that character has been revisited only because Rock has done rock concerts since, and that was a Hollywood Rock staple.
Yes.
So again, he didn't come out with the vest and the sunglasses, and maybe he was a face, but he has done the tropes of Hollywood rock since then. Again, asterisk level. It's not full.
It's so hard for me not to like. He's one of those wrestlers where it's so hard to.
Yeah.
It's just so hard
You
to even
can't- you
take the
can't-
words out of my mouth.
It's hard to think
like,
of wrestling without him. Is
Yeah.
really what it is.
It's hard to think of wrestling without him. It's the last thing I'm going to see on The Rock. Give me 2 of his best matches of all time that is not 18 or 17.
That is an 18 or 17.
Yes.
Yeah.
17 was Hogan.
Like 17 was
No,
Austin 2.
17 was Austin 2. 18 was Hogan. 19 was Austin 3.
Well, honestly,
Like however you, and let me be clear, it's however you define best for you, the wrestling fan. Because this is why Rock ended up on my list. Because when I think of
SummerSlam.
his matches, it's
All
those
right.
2,
Yeah.
and then just a bunch of shit.
Right. SummerSlam 98, Triple H,
Yeah.
Rock, ladder match, Intercontinental title. I
That
was
was-
going to
no,
say Mankind
Not a
as
good
well.
match.
None,
a good
literally none. Zach said Mankind off camera. Literally none of the Rock's matches with Mankind at any point in time were good, and in fact has one of the hardest in the history of wrestling matches to watch.
Yeah.
Yo, you just sound so mad every time. Oh, well,
It's
the other
fine.
match I was going to say, Rock and Ken Shamrock at
All right.
WrestleMania.
Well,
You're entitled
We'll
to your
move
opinion.
on.
Anything with Ken Shamrock, you're entitled to your opinion.
All right,
Sure.
we'll move
Clayton, hey, it is you, the wrestling fan, have an opinion. Go ahead and tell me. That's your opinion. I don't.
on. Well, no. Clayton, the wrestling fan, quite literally is just, hey, Clayton, what's that thing that everyone loves that you just dislike? And then he just lists everything that's cool about
I
wrestling.
understand the Ken Shamrock.
That's not
thing.
true. I have HBK on my overrated list, but I didn't discount either of his Undertaker matches.
That's true. All right, my number 3 is Jeff Jarrett.
I was thinking about putting him on
Jeff
mine.
Jarrett is overrated, and he's also on Zach's list. We agree on that.
I think,
Yes, overrated but iconic.
yo, if I'm going to compare him moveset wise, yeah,
He's
I think
iconic because he lost an Intercontinental title to China, and he also threw the belt, or he laid down for Hogan.
It's not why he's iconic.
That's not why he's iconic.
What, starting TNA?
No.
Don't piss. Or like, I think
Oh,
the
is
double
he,
J
is
thing.
he iconic because he has a smash hit country song that Road Dogg sang?
No.
Yo, you need to let him say why he's
You want
iconic.
to keep going? Because I honestly don't think you're going to hit why it's iconic
All right,
for me.
fine. Why?
Jeff Jarrett, the name,
Yeah.
is an adjective to utterly wreck someone's shit with a guitar. That is iconic.
Did Jeff Jarrett someone?
I
Yes.
think that is one of the reasons why I like him. I don't.
Yeah.
Yes, in terms of wrestling style, it's not the most like heavy hitting.
Yeah, but I could pull
And-
a Clayton and say, take away Jeff Jarrett's ability to hit someone with a guitar. What did he do?
I think the whole.
Well, but see, unlike me though, I agreed that he's overrated
Yeah.
but iconic.
You could be both. You could be
Yeah.
overrated and iconic.
Yeah, I didn't say take away, not for HBK, not for The Rock, not for the entire women's
You literally
division,
said take away 17 and 18. What do you have for The Rock?
from his matches. But that's the same argument I had with HBK.
Well, my point is, I could pull a Clayton and say take away these things, and what does he have? Yeah. But okay, but anyways, I don't think anyone's arguing that
No,
Jeff Jarrett
no.
is overrated. Yeah.
100%.
All right, and then I'm gonna start us off with number 4.
Yeah, we need a machine gun these. We're
Yeah,
getting
all
long.
right. This is the one that I think Eddie's gonna get mad at. Actually, everyone might get mad at. I don't really care. No, it's Shinsuke Nakamura. I think he's overrated as shit. I think he's overrated as shit, and I don't get it. Me? Oh yeah, no, I'm including his Japan years and everything. I think all of it. I think everything about Shinsuke Nakamura is overrated to me. as opposed to his matches with Okada in WWE. Sorry, I just wanted to point that out.
I would say, with no knowledge of outside WWE, I can see that.
Yeah.
100%.
He had really good outside of WWE matches in Japan. I just don't care.
Yeah, for a WWE marks list,
I'm a WWE mark, and I'm not
mad at it.
I know I've never not owned that, so here we are.
I'm not mad at it.
Actually, if I wanted to go back on the Jeff Jarrett point real quick, I watched more TNA during like that 2008 to 2010 or 11 thing than I did watch SmackDown during those years. But I still think Jeff Jarrett's overrated too. But back to Shinsuke Nakamura.
I don't have anything else for this one.
Yeah,
I get it.
All right. And then, so Zach had Natalia Alberto, and then he also had Jeff Jarrett and Goldberg. So his last one is Lex Luger.
He's on my honorable mentions, actually.
So everything about Lex
Luger is the most annoying thing in the world to me, to be honest.
You
slam Yokozuna, America.
The Lex Express. Showing up on Raw and Nitro.
He can shove the entire Lex Express up his ass. Honestly, dude. Like, it's reasons of, not the most interesting wrestler, reasons outside of the, wrestling. He's one of those guys where it's like, he's actually not in my top 5.
Yeah. Clayton, do you even know who Lex Luger is?
I do know who Lex Luger is, and I was actually about to say, Lex Luger, if Vincent Kennedy McMahon went to an 8-year-old in second grade and described his prototypical wrestler, that is who Lex Luger would be. An 8-year-old's interpretation of that description.
Yeah.
It's so Lex Luger to me, with the very limited knowledge I've had about Lex Luger, but knowledge of his history.
Yeah.
A template of good ideas that he didn't have the proper work ethic to achieve.
Lex Luger is just Ultimate Warrior if he could talk. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Printed on a t-shirt. Lex Luger is Ultimate Warrior if he could talk. That's it. Thoughts? Thoughts?
At least
Thoughts?
Ultimate Warrior's charismatic in some
That's true.
capacity.
Dude, Ultimate Warrior is higher on my list than Lex Luger.
I like Ultimate Warrior more than Lex Luger.
Yeah.
No offense to him. You can pull off that America crap all you want.
All right.
I put Arn Anderson. The reason why I said that to piss you off, by the way. I wouldn't say that. I wanted to say that to piss him off so bad.
God.
Hey, look, it worked.
I know.
Yeah, no, it's not. I actually really like Arn Anderson's wrestling.
Godfather of the Pine Busters.
I know, dude.
I will set you on fire on this podcast.
What's your favorite Arn Anderson match?
I don't have a favorite.
Father of the Pine Buster. I'm going to defend him.
Godfather of the Pine Buster.
Ryback.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. He's not number 1. He's number 2, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I restructured my list a little bit. I said Ultimate Warrior was number 1. I don't. After listing those two, when you saw my face go, that's who I thought of. I'm like, nope, Ryback putting it down. Yeah, Ryback, absolutely. Pushed because, again, big man, big money.
Because big meaty men slapping meat.
Even though
he got me once. I will admit, Ryback got me once. I don't even know that I necessarily still think this to this day, but at the time, I thought Ryback should have won that Hell in a Cell match and taken the title off of Punk.
So I went into that match thinking that, they're trying to push the hell out of him, but I didn't think he was going to win right away.
Like I said, I didn't see the Brad Maddox thing happen.
All the people he was beating were like people you'd see as enhancement talent. That's why I'm like, there's no way this guy's actually.
That's just
but like, I don't even think there was maybe of his, like, I think he went on, like, they were talking about he's won 30 in a row. I think 28 of those people were enhancement talent.
Ryback's a victim of, even with the mega push, not having a logical finisher.
Yeah.
That cradled marching suplex was so stupid. I liked him, like, on paper, looking at him going into a wrestling ring, like, big meaty dude hurting somebody.
Yeah.
But
Just the freaking marching.
Like, why wasn't he given a spear? Why wasn't he given a lariat?
Those meat hooks?
Meat hook.
Dude, well, and that's the thing. Braun Breaker is
Like,
having
dude.
the career that Ryback wish he had.
I was thinking that last week.
100%.
I was thinking that last week. This is exactly who Ryback should have been.
Everything that Braun Breaker is doing right now is what Ryback should have been doing.
Braun Breaker's so good.
Yeah.
I like Braun Breaker.
And the thing is, not to discredit Ryback, he could have done it. Everything that Braun Breaker's doing right now, Ryback could have done. He just sucks as a person.
No, I don't think Ryback could. Hot take: Ryback couldn't lace Braun Breaker's boots.
Oh yeah, I mean that's true.
Yeah. Sue
But
me.
let's
Ryback
not
marks.
but also let's not pretend like Braun Breaker has the most complex moveset ever.
He just does it so. Again, it's that snap. Like
It's the beauty of the Performance Center. You get time to work the angles of appearances and
hit
stuff.
us up with 4. We're gonna just shotgun these last few.
I'm just gonna do my 4 and my 5. Christian.
See, I knew Arn Anderson would piss him off, but that's not as mad.
No, but here's the deal. Like, this one I get.
I get that.
I'm a
as
Christian
well.
Mark, but kind of like what you said. I think you said it about The Rock, where you're like, he's on my Mount Rushmore, but he is overrated. Christian, I do love Christian. I'm a peep. I've always been a peep. Christian is he's in my top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time, but he's not on my Mount Rushmore, and I see why people think. I'm surprised, though, given the criteria you've been giving, that you're even saying Christian's been overrated, because on paper, he hasn't done really hardly anything. He doesn't even have a list of accomplishments that would be highly enough rated to say that it's overrated, in my opinion.
Christian is Marty Jannetty at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
I firmly believe if Christian was never, like if you take Christian's career and he's never connected to Edge, he doesn't have any accomplishments.
I would agree with that.
He is the premier mid-card jobber, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Everyone has a role.
Everybody has a role, but like that's his role.
He gatekept the mid-card for a while. Like, he was the guy you went over to make sure you got to the mid-card. Like,
and is when you're at that stature in my head, then it's like, okay, cool. Where can I give you some extra points? Okay, kind of like with Ryback. Okay, Unprettier is stupid.
Yeah,
that's
the
not
kill
the
switch.
That I agree
The kill
with.
switch
That
is a bad finisher.
I'm sorry, I'm never calling it the kill switch. It will always be called by its original name. The Unprettier is stupid. It's always been stupid. I wish I could watch Jake the Snake Roberts and Christian wrestle in a death match to determine who is erased from existence, because it's just that stupid.
Oh my God. I don't know why you gotta.
I unmuted for a little bit.
I don't know why you gotta break down Jake in that.
Yeah, I do.
My fifth, because if I keep going on Christian, this will go another 25 minutes.
I get it. I won't argue that one.
My 5th one, I really hope this doesn't start arguments, because
it's going to be like Triple H or...
If it's Triple H, you're actually smoking crack. Though,
Sorry, go ahead.
You're actually going to say it. Are you actually...
No, I'm not going to say Triple H. I'm not going to say Hunter. I like Hunter, and I don't think Hunter's overrated. I think Hunter is the PC version of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, Triple H is an acceptable Hulk Hogan, and I'm fine with that.
All right.
He's not overrated as a result.
5?
But who is overrated just for their post, when I started watching wrestling, so like early 2000s, that period until they stopped wrestling, period, Ric Flair.
Oh, God. Dude.
Okay, hold on.
I get...
He said he gave a timeline.
You qualified a version of Ric Flair that's like a one-time Intercontinental Champion and a one-time... No, like 2 or 3-time tag champion. So I get it. But why do you... Why isolate it? I don't even think it's fair to put him in an overrated list because you picked his worst years.
Here's why I isolated it. Ric Flair, while not being in a main title feud.
Yeah.
Because of the faction that he was in, I think it's fair to say he was main event picture adjacent.
Which faction?
Evolution.
He's been I mean, yeah, I guess if you're going to reference Evolution, he was representative of the past, but like I just truly I don't think it's fair that you isolated someone's worst years and said they're overrated. That just screams unjust to me. Like Ric Flair, hands down, is like, as I would even say it as fact, blankly, Ric Flair is not overrated.
I think if you put Ric Flair in a wrestling match in 2008, he was still better than a lot of people somehow. But yeah, I do I don't think it's okay. With your first option, I don't think it's fair to throw people such as Alundra Blaze. I know you don't really.
I know Alundra Blaze is.
Yeah. She was a really good wrestler. Yeah, like Alundra Blaze, Trish, Lita. Like, I know it's all of that era, which they're really piss poor factors of women's wrestling before NXT. Yeah, just mad at women's wrestling before NXT.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm like, okay, well, there are certain
I just
people
think
who
that's
don't
a
deserve
bad
to be.
take. That's like if I said John Cena's overrated because he literally hasn't won a match between 2018 and 2020. He hasn't won a singles match in like 5 years.
But here's where it's different. Ric Flair was active. Yes, I'm understanding at face value that it's his, in terms of accomplishments, which is how I've been rating everything to this point, it was his worst stretch of time, but he was active. If John Cena was active during this multi-year losing streak and still losing, I would listen to that.
But
so technically, if I'm thinking about this in total mark perspective, technically what you're saying also is that era of Ric Flair is better than this era of John Cena, because Ric Flair was actually at least winning also.
That's one way you could look at it. I just and we'll move past this unless you have more to say. Ultimately, I don't think it's fair for anyone to look at their like twilight out the door years and be like, oh, this guy, he's overrated. Why do people love this guy? When you completely discounted, without exaggerating, 20 years of his career, or like you just excluded 2 decades worth of the career, like the legend's career. You were just like, I didn't see that, so it doesn't exist. This guy is overrated. Like, that's crazy to me. That
when we have an underrated list, we'll establish better ground rules. I guess that'll be a better way to go about things.
Because Ric Flair's top 5 wrestler of all time. He doesn't make my Mount Rushmore, but he's top 5 wrestler of all time. But for the basis of the list, because I've been consistent on the time ranges that I'm looking at.
So you made an overrated list for wrestlers from 1998 to 2006. That's what you did.
Yeah, from the time I've been watching wrestling.
All right, I mean, all right, if you were consistent.
I understand I understand. In my opinion, I've watched wrestling like throughout histories. I'm such a freaking nerd about wrestling that I've gotten to watch stuff from like the 70s. Like, yeah, it's not fair to like for him to pull someone out of like the 1980s when he didn't even watch the 1980s. I do agree with that standpoint. Sure.
That's why I don't have any, like, Ric Flair's the oldest wrestler that I have on my list, because I can understand and listen to a debate about older wrestlers' overrated careers, even if I don't have anything to add, but I watched Ric Flair wrestle.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I saw Hacksaw Jim Duggan wrestle. I'm like, wow, this guy sucks. Why do people like him so much?
No, I mean, I get it. I watched Undertaker's last 2 or 3 matches. They were really bad. I don't know why people liked him.
It's because it was Undertaker. It's the only reason.
That matters.
Name value.
Right, that does.
Name value, baby.
Ric Flair didn't have name value. Oh, okay.
He had name value.
Jesus.
He did. But he's main event adjacent.
Shred him in the comments. Let him know how bad of a take that was.
I'm not feeling it.
Finish out your list.
All right. My most overrated wrestler of all time. I guess Welcome Back as well. Apparently, Great Khali.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
How the hell is that not fair?
That's not fair.
Okay.
What?
Here's my honorable
I
mention.
only considered Ric Flair from 2000 to 2008. He's overrated.
Hold on.
But you can't consider the Great Khali's entire
My
career?
honorable mention's better.
Okay.
My honorable mention's MVP. Let me explain why. Now you can get mad at me. Let me explain why. Let me tell you about one of the most...
Start with the Khali.
What a shitty finisher for the Playmaker, dude.
He's already on MVP. He's done.
No. Yeah, y'all know why Great Khali is overrated. Like, shoot. No, I'll touch on Great Khali real fast. He's very overrated. He's Great Khali for, I mean... For a feud with The Undertaker when he first came in to the WWE, that actually made pretty... They tried to do some Giant Gonzalez crap. Yeah. But...
With the same guy.
And I think they literally just saw the longest yard and saw how big and tall there was.
This guy, he could chop.
Yeah, well, it's like, hey, let's get him. And, I mean, hey.
All right, Clayton, your thoughts?
Big scary man.
Yeah.
I don't think... the Great Khali, and I fully accept I could be wrong on this, but my perception of the Great Khali is that he didn't have enough expectations to warrant being overrated. I think he fit a very particular archetype of wrestler, when realistically, outside of an in-shape Big Show, which is once every blue moon anyway, we just didn't have in wrestling at the time. From a height perspective, we had that archetype from a weight perspective in new manga, but from a height perspective, it's Khali, Big Show, Kane, sure, I guess, even though he doesn't work that exact same type of style of wrestling. I got similar from the thought process of you telling to me, hey, you're taking Ric Flair's worst years at the tail end of his career when he shouldn't, like, much wasn't expected from him.
Yeah.
I'm using that same thought process for the Great Khali. Like, he was there at the right time, but, like, I don't feel like the Great Khali overstayed his welcome, if that makes sense.
I think he overstayed his welcome.
I think that is actually a good point for not having any expectation, I guess. I do think that is a good point. When I am evaluating my list, I'm looking, do they deserve what their push?
Do they deserve what they got?
Yeah, do they deserve what they got? And I don't think...
Okay, yeah, I'll agree. Because if there's no India tour, he does not ever get a title reign.
And I honestly think that is a really good point to put, like, he didn't really have a set expectation, and I think it was really good for Batista to take that world heavyweight title from him. I think that was a really good storyline. At the same time, I look at this man and I'm like, this man's training other people to wrestle at the same time.
Well, there is a coach versus player mentality.
There's absolutely.
That's a little different, but yeah, I see your point.
But there's also a reason why the WWE said we're going on this India initiative and going to try to hire people from India.
Yeah.
And they went on the tour, hired said people, and I just want to point out the people who are on the roster right now are not from that initiative. They all got hired and then they all got cut.
Oh yeah, because the India initiative was over,
and because they weren't, because they were small guys having a big guy.
Yeah,
like that. That was my take on that. It's not like honestly, Great Khali was there for a reason. I understand what the reason was.
Your point stands, though. I think he's overrated.
Yeah. Like from how you're evaluating it, yes.
Right. None of the people who I've named, I am saying I would want a WWE without them, but Lex Luger. That actually still stands. Here's my
5. I put Ronda Rousey as number.
Oh, that's fine.
I don't think anyone's going to argue it either. But my honorable mention, I put JBL.
No, I can't do that.
I think JBL's overrated. I think that...
Why?
I don't think he should have gotten the singles push that he got. I don't think he should have been the Bane. He was the catalyst that launched John Cena into everything with his first
WWE
world title
Tyrus.
run. You what?
He's WWE Tyrus.
If you want to say
WWE
no, because
he got stuff because of his fame. He got stuff because of the stuff he was doing outside of WWE with Fox. With Fox, actually.
I wouldn't even say that, dude. The Acolytes, the APA, that whole thing, Bradshaw, Bradshaw was over. Like, the APA was over.
He was very over.
His tag team run leading to his singles run, I never saw or understood why JBL got the singles push that he did. Who
did you say earlier that they got their title runs as a result of other people taking a break or leaving
Alberto Del Rio was perfect place, right time.
I think JBL
is very similar.
Similar, but also
he had the ability. Don't get me wrong, JBL was a good wrestler. Going off of like the criteria of what he deserved to do versus what he did on paper, in my head, a singles JBL doesn't get a WWE title run, much less the longest running WWE title in SmackDown history for however many years that stood. The cabinet was cool. I liked the cabinet.
Another point that kind of sounds dumb because I literally haven't mentioned it up to this point. Maybe I did with Kevin Nash. It's what you did if you had that push, what you did with it.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And I feel like, yes, to the point that you made, JBL really didn't do much to earn it, but to keep it, I think he did a lot.
Yeah.
Totally.
JBL, the character, is in. I won't say he's in my top 5 of wrestling characters, but he's definitely within my top 10.
As a character, JBL, the old
JBL, not Bradshaw. Bradshaw's
Bradshaw and JBL
somewhere
are two
in the 50s.
wildly different people. I feel like JBL got the career from a rich man standpoint that Ted DiBiase wish he got.
Top 5 heel, in my opinion, JBL.
Granted,
easy money.
Granted, Ted DiBiase had more of the managerial aspect of it. JBL got more of the wrestler aspect of it. But they're relatively the same character
in a lot of ways.
From a money standpoint, guy.
The only thing I didn't like is yes, he was JBL, Mr. Richman, but he still wrestled like Bradshaw. I know it's the same wrestler, but you're still hitting it's a bar fight. Dude,
that actually made sense to me.
To an extent, I was confused by it when it first happened because I kind of got into it when it first actually kind of played out.
Yeah.
So when it was weird.
There is nothing in this life that hits my ears on an auditory level like JBL saying he's a wrestling god.
Oh yeah, I'm muting my mic if you're gonna say it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna say it. I'm just it speaks to me.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, with those moments where they crystallize their character, like that. Every time he said it, I believed it. I was hooked.
Yeah.
Whether he won or lost, I was hooked. But I understand.
And again, he's an honorable mention. He didn't make my top 5.
Right.
So.
There's certain moves that I could watch over and over again, and the clothesline from hell is one of those moves as well.
Yes.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, that kind of rounds out our top 5 most overrated wrestlers of all time. Heated discussion. Clayton came to bite today.
I still technically have someone to talk about.
Do you?
I just haven't talked about MVP.
Oh, if you want to go over MVP, you can.
I actually did put MVP on my list. I actually put
honorable mention or in the 5.
Well, I was between two people, between MVP and no, he's not. No, I don't think he's in my top 5.
Okay.
There was another person, and to the point where I may just no, I thought there are certain factors that played into why he was overrated in my opinion, which is why MVP snuck into my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
I didn't understand, nor mic-wise, I do want to point out, I think he's fantastic on the microphone. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, in-ring ability. He may not have gotten a world title push, but he got a pretty big push on SmackDown and was
the US belt.
The US belt,
he was a dual
biggest
champ.
signing in SmackDown history.
Yeah. He was a dual champ. He was tag team and US at the same time.
He got a lot in a very short amount of time of him actually wrestling.
Yeah. When
I saw him wrestle, won and win the United States Championship, I'm like, really? He was
technically sound. I really enjoyed MVP in the ring for that era.
I just couldn't get
that,
behind
early
him.
SmackDown era?
he was someone. It's not like I dislike MVP at all. I just went into the bowels of my memory. I'm like, who did I really not like watching wrestle? And Christian is also one of those people where I'm like, yo, I just liked his merch and I liked the way he talked, honestly. And Christian was also someone I was thinking about, but MVP was just one of those guys I really couldn't get behind. And then seeing his success outside of WWE as well, I'm like, I still don't understand.
Clayton, thoughts?
Yeah, thoughts.
All I'm gonna say is a career. I don't think overrated and career mid Carter fit in the same sentence.
Like he never.
Yo,
if we're going by the criteria we have talked about, I think what MVP accomplished perfectly fits what he did. I don't think. In fact, I wouldn't have even been upset at like a world heavyweight title run when it was the B show title.
Yeah. Oh my god, I would.
When it was the B show title,
I still would have puked. Honestly, like that would have sucked to me.
That would have been fine with me. One or two would have been fine.
I would have rather taken Alberto Del Rio over that in terms of wrestling
MVP
style. Over in terms of wrestling style. I said over in terms of wrestling style.
MVP deserves a world title run more than Dean Ambrose does, and you can take that to the bank.
I would actually agree with that.
See what the bank tells you if you cash that in.
I would agree with that, and I would double down. MVP deserved a world title run more than Jeff Hardy.
You were smoking
Take that
crack.
to the bank, too. I would agree with that, too.
Yo, what's the criteria of how you earn a world? Let's start there. What's the criteria?
We don't have time for that. Thanks for enjoying this episode of the Too Heavy Wrestling Podcast. This has been our top 5 overrated. Yeah, I wasn't kidding. We don't have time for that anymore. So thanks for sticking around. If you stuck around this long, let us know in the comments exactly how wrong Clayton was. Thanks for hanging out with us, and
Proud of you, mama.
and we will see you soon. Thanks, guys.